Hello everyone, and welcome to today's video. So I'm really excited today because I put a ton of work into basically learning everything I possibly could about paladins. And today I'm going to share all that information with you. This video is probably going to be really long, so I have lots of timestamps for you. You can look, whatever information you want to see, what you want to skip, it's all here. It's all Burning Crusade, so there's going to be a lot of really new information, helpful information, hopefully, and a lot of basic stuff. So we're going to start with the basic stuff, but if you want to skip around to more advanced stuff, feel free to do that. We're going all the way from level 1, just really basic stuff, gear progression, two-handed weapon progression. We're going to talk about gear priority, stat priority, talent progression, and then I'm going to talk about best in slot eventually. What's the cookie cutter build for protection, retribution, and holy at 70. And we're even going to talk about which Paladin add-ons you should definitely have. And so tons of information here. I'm super excited to share this with you all. So without further ado, let's dive into racial base stats. So depending on what race you play, you're going to have different base stats. And so there are four races that can play Paladin in the Burning Crusade. You can play a dwarf, a human, a Draenei, or a blood elf, of course, the new horde race that can play Paladin. So if you play a dwarf, you're going to have 24 strength, 16 agility, 25 stamina, 19 intellect, 20 spirit, and 34 armor when you just create your character right off the bat. I'm going to list this chart somewhere so you can just read through these numbers. Some call outs, so I don't read this all to you, but blood elves are going to benefit the most from divine intellect, which is a talent in the holy tree at the top, plus 10 intellect when you put 5 points into it. The reason is because they have higher base intellect. As you can see, their base intellect is 24, whereas every other race has lower base intellect. So keep that in mind. And then dwarves actually will benefit the most from not only divine strength, but also sacred duty and combat expertise. So divine strength is plus 10 strength with 5 points, sacred duty plus 6% stamina, and combat expertise is another plus 6% stamina. You can see here dwarves have plus 25 stamina, the most out of any of the other races. So you can see dwarf and blood elf are kind of the respective best stats for some of those talents. So keep that in mind as you level. Human spirit 23, that does not include the racial plus 10% spirit. So keep that in mind as well. All right, so I want to talk a little bit about the importance of different stats for Paladin, and I also want to talk about what each of the stats actually do, right? So strength, and this is some basic stuff, but if you already know it, you can skip. But if you don't know, it's good to know. Good stuff. So strength affects the base damage a paladin can do with melee attacks and affects the amount of damage that can be blocked with a shield. So strength not only helps offensively, it also helps defensively. The natural leveling of a paladin enhances strength faster than agility, intellect, or spirit. What that means is that as you level, you're going to get more stats into strength than the other stats, more points. Equipment that adds to strength will increase the damage done with each attack slightly. Retribution Paladins spec'd with divine strength usually stack a lot of strength. So that's one thing that's good to know. Agility. So agility increases the melee critical hit chance and dodge. Point for point, critical strike rating is better for damage and dodge rating is better for tanking, but agility is still useful because it still helps. Stamina. So stamina adds to the hit points or health that you have. Stamina is the other attribute that increases rapidly as the paladin levels. Being able to absorb more damage is always a good thing for a paladin. It is the key stat for tanking, and many level 70 tanks will stack pure stamina once they've reached the defense cap. Now moving on to intellect. Intellect adds to the mana pool that your character has, which is needed to cast spells. Increases your spell critical strike chance. It is by far the best stat for holy paladins since it contributes to their sustained healing ability in several ways. Number one, the size of the initial mana pool, and number two, the amount of mana returned through illumination. When you get a critical heal, you're going to get some mana back. So intellect is fantastic for holy paladins. It's nice that blood elves start with a little bit extra. Spirit. Now, Spirit increases the regeneration rate of health and mana when not in combat. Spirit shortens downtime between fights. Paladins rarely have much downtime between fights due to self-healing and Blessing of Wisdom, and also taking advantage of the 5-second rule. When you don't cast an ability for 5 seconds, it allows, out of combat mana regeneration to continue. Unlike other casters, though, Paladins don't really have that, really great mana regeneration. So Spirit is not really that helpful for Paladins. I would not recommend it. However, I do recommend Blessing of Wisdom over Blessing of Might in order to ensure that you're being efficient with your mana. Paladins typically have mana issues in general. So if you're kind of going all out, you will have downtime between fights. So while leveling, we're going to talk about some of the gear you want to aim for. Obviously, you're going to want mail gear up until level 40, and you're going to want the following suffixes. Now, I always thought this was fun, but of the bear, right? So you might get like breastplate of the bear. That's going to have your strength and your stamina. You could get like breastplate of the eagle. That's going to have stamina and intelligence. Of the gorilla will have strength and intelligence. Sorry, so of the eagle is stamina and intelligence. And then of the monkey is strength and agility. So you've got these different suffixes to go after. Obviously, you're going to pretty much always want strength and something else, unless of the eagle, you're going to want to go after if you're playing like an AoE paladin, where you're going to want stamina and intelligence over strength, right? So those are the 4 main suffixes you're going to look for and stats you're going to look for. So now we kind of talked a little bit about stat priority, but let's get a little deeper with it. So as a Retribution Paladin, you're really going to want to aim for strength number 1. It's pretty much your number 1 best stat. Then agility, then stamina, then intellect. For protection AoE Paladins, so if this is still kind of leveling, you're really going to want stamina number 1 and then intellect number 2. And so I'll explain a little bit more. I do have a Prot Paladin AoE video, by the way. I go way into depth on basically everything you need to know about playing or leveling, actually everything about Prot protection AoE Paladins. So another thing to remember about Paladins is that spell power is a large factor of your DPS because your seals deal holy spell damage. If you come across anything that adds spell damage or healing power, especially like a ring or a necklace, you should definitely consider equipping it. Spell power is going to improve your damage, and it's going to also increase the amount that you heal. So it's actually pretty good. It's a pretty good stat. Even if it's like your first helmet and it's cloth and it adds some spell power, like throw it on if you're not like stealing it from someone who needs it more. So that's an important disclaimer you might forget. Remember every time as you're leveling that you reach an even number. So let's say you turn level 2, that's an even number. You can have their spells to learn. I know this is super basic, but some people may not know this. So 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, so on, all the way up to 70. Even numbers means you have new spells available. So be sure to check your trainer. Disclaimer, you don't need every spell from your trainer. A lot of them are just unneeded. So make sure you just get the key abilities, things like seals, judgment, blessings that you're going to be using. Learn those. Paladin don't have too many useless abilities, but they do have some. So keep an eye out for stuff that you're probably not going to use often or need to use. At level 12, as a Paladin, make sure to complete your quest to learn Redemption, the Paladin Resurrection spell. This quest can be started from different NPCs depending on your race. Humans will need to meet Dothorian Ral in the Cathedral in Stormwind. Dwarves will need to meet Tyza Battleforge upstairs in the Hall of Mysteries, Ironforge, and Draenei must meet with Jal in the Vault of Light's Exodar. You'll definitely want to learn how to resurrect, especially if you're going to be playing with other people. All right, in this section, I'm going to talk about loot to watch out for, loot you should kind of try to get if you can. Basically, there's so much here that I don't want to actually read it all to you. Instead, I'll just post it in the description and talk about maybe a handful of items. So obviously, Deadmines has great stuff if you're Alliance. Smite's Mighty Hammer is good. Cape of the Brotherhood is really good. Corpse Maker is fantastic. Both factions could probably get this from Razorfen Crawl if they wanted to. Different armor, you could go for the Phantom Armor that drops off Deathsworn Captain and Shadowfang Keep. Tuscan Helm, again, from Razorfen Crawl is a really great one. From level 30 to 40, you could try to get Harad's Shoulder. SM is going to be great for tons of loot. I'll talk about Retribution items. Excalibur is fantastic. Mograin's Might, different armor, Gauntlets of Divinity, Raging Berserker's Helm. These are just a handful of items that are all really good. Again, I'll post the full list in the description below, but there's a ton of really good loot for Paladins, and that's frankly, I feel like, a big reason I love playing Paladins, because the plate gear looks awesome, it's really powerful, and there's a lot of it. And frankly, in the Burning Crusade, little known fact, like, a lot of quest rewards are for Paladins. Like, I was not leveling a Paladin, I was like, get this Paladin crap out of here, and that was like half the quest. So like, if you're going to play a Paladin in the Burning Crusade, you're in luck, because tons of quests have Pally gear as a reward, and it's pretty freaking awesome, actually. So definitely highly recommend playing a Paladin in the Burning Crusade. Yeah, so I'm going to put that full list down there, and we're going to move on to two-handed weapon progression. Now, this is important because, you know, having a strong weapon is really going to increase your leveling speed. Now, if you're playing an AoE Protection Paladin as you level, then obviously this doesn't apply to you, and you can go check out my other guide. So this is actually something I take pride in. This section, I have leveled multiple Paladins, and I feel like I really know what I'm talking about here. So basically, as you're leveling a Blood Elf specifically, you know, you're going to get like a one-hander eventually that's better than your two-hander, and you're just going to use that for a little bit with the shield, doing those early Blood Elf quests. However, you're going to replace that one-hander when you do this quest. This dwarf basically has betrayed. He's basically a spy. He's friendly at first. You lure him to the top of this tower, and then you murder him. Good stuff. That quest gives you the Bloodhawk Claymore. You're going to see every Paladin run around with these. Like, you don't want to skip this quest. Bloodhawk Claymore is fantastic. You get this at about like level 6 or 7 or so. It's really good. Now, this is the little secret thing that people don't know about, and this is what, at level 10, this weapon is purchasable. Okay, this is the weapon you want to go after, the Tranquillian Flamberg. All right, it's you can buy it, and it's perfect. You get it from Provisioner Vredigar, and he is I'm pretty sure he's in Ghostlands, I want to say. Yeah, he's in Ghostlands. This sword you can buy unlimited amounts, so it's not like you need to be the first person to get there. It's on page 2 though, so you could miss it. Like, it's not the first list of like stuff you can buy from him. You gotta click to go to the next page. It's a hidden gem, the Tranquillian Flamberg. It has intellect, it has strength, and a chance on hit to send a shadowy bolt at the enemy, causing 35 shadow damage, and it requires level 10. It's 10.1 damage per second, okay? And if you look at the Bloodhawk Claymore, it's 3.6 damage per second. So this is a, like, almost 3 times increase in damage per second upgrade. It's fantastic. Little known secret. There you go. It's a freaking gem. Tranquillian Flamberg. Okay, the one downside, I will say, it's like 43 silver. And you need to be smart at low levels, so in order to get 43 silver, I mean, you know, vendor everything, pick up skinning, do all the smart things to get that silver, and then buy this weapon because it's a beast. Okay, so after that, the next one's kind of obvious. Sindori Warblade. Enough said. If you don't know what that is, people from all across Azeroth that are Horde are going to be coming to the Ghostlands in order to pick up their blue item. This is a blue item that you can get at level 20. It's a quest. You're going to need a group to do it. Basically, the Sindori Warblade is like best in slot for a while. It is super strong. It's got like plus 10 strength on it. I actually have a video on don't skip this quest because it's so good. Like, people, like, I'm not even kidding. Like everyone's going to come do this quest because, like, when you get this weapon, excuse me, it's just going to be so good. Like, if you're a warrior leveling, you're going to want it. There's a hunter bow, there's a rogue dagger, and then there's a caster staff, and they're all blues and they're all amazing, and I recommend you totally go and pick them up. I cannot freaking recommend it enough. Sindori Warblade. That's what you get to replace the Tranquillian Flamberg. Now, after this point, you can diverge and go do different things. You can go get Strike of the Hydra next, Corpse Maker. There's other options. I'm just listing off the ones that I feel like are ideal. Manual Crowd Pummeler is great. Excalibur is beastly if you go do Razor Fen Downs. Ravager in SM off Harad is beautiful. Mograin's Might, two-handed mace off of Mograin from SM Cathedral. Grimlock's Charge is also really good. You've got Beast Slayer eventually. Limb Cleaver. Warblade of Ser Daro. This is good because it's a quest chain. You can guarantee yourself getting this. Hell Reaver. This is a classic item. It's extremely good. It's a polearm though, and honestly, leveling new weapons as a paladin kind of sucks. But use Seal of the Crusader, you attack faster. Hell Reaver is very classic. If you remember in Ramparts, the last boss, things like Vorzen, he drops Hell Reaver. It's a very iconic two-handed polearm. It basically looks like a giant sword. It's like the glowing red. It's amazing. Hell Reaver. You should go out of your way to get Hell Reaver. It's going to be your first really good TBC blue weapon. After that, you can basically ride that all the way until Ring of Blood, and you can get the Honed Void Axe, and that's an axe. So once again, leveling a weapon, but you can take Honed Void Axe all the way to 70, and at 70 you're going to want to try to get the Quantum Blade, and that's your pre-raid best in slot two-handed weapon. The Quantum Blade drops by Aeonis, and Aeonis is a dragonkin, but yeah. At least I believe so. Anyways, Quantum Blade. You should go for that. And then, to be fair, we should talk about one-handed weapon progression and shield progression. But if you're doing that for leveling, then I just recommend, then you're obviously doing AoE Paladin, and I recommend you go check out that other video. So that being said, I'm going to move on to the best professions. Yeah, professions. I love professions. It's like one of my favorite components of World of Warcraft. I love it, guys. So first aid, should you get it? Yes, I think so. Paladins, typically struggle with mana. You're going to want to get Benediction to help with that. But first aid, you can bubble Band-Aid. Who would want to do a bubble Band-Aid? It's almost like, fun to say. Anyways, if you want a bubble Band-Aid, you have to have first aid. And the reason it's good is because if you don't have mana, usually if you have to bubble, you're in a sticky situation. You're probably near death. And so being able to just pop Divine Shield and just start, what's it even called? Using a bandage on yourself. It's going to be nice because you might not have mana, dude. So first aid's awesome. You can bubble, get a full Band-Aid off. It's going to be awesome. So definitely go first aid, I'd say. That's my recommendation. If you can do it, and do it early so that you can keep up as the cloth starts flowing in from humanoids. Mining Blacksmithing. Highly recommend this one for a couple reasons. Number one, Ret Endgame. Thunder Fury. Is that what it's called? Is that what it's called? God, what's it called? It goes from Storm Herald. Did someone say Thunder Fury? Deep Thunder upgrades into Storm Herald, aka Stun Herald. It's easily best in slot for Retribution because with Seal of Command, when you judge on a stunned target, you do a lot more damage, guaranteed. So, Stun Herald is going to be stunning people like crazy. You're going to be doing extra damage on your Seal of Command judgment, and it's fantastic. So easily the best weapon. I remember getting that on my Ret, and it was broken. So that's really strong, especially for PvP. Of course, there's going to be better weapons. Someone out there is going to be saying, it's not best for Ret. Okay, you win. It's not best for Ret. All I know is it's really good for Ret. BiS gear. There's a lot of blacksmithing BiS gear. Pre-raid BiS. Some of it's BOE, some of it's BOP. I know Lionheart Executioner is fantastic sword. So that's BOP. There's some good stuff. Jewel crafting mining. Again, there's some BiS gear with jewel crafting. The pre-raid BiS. You've got ring. You've got neck. What are they called? I want to say adamantite. something choker, adamantite choker, maybe. I'll link it. I'll show it to you. Alchemy / herb for immolation oil, healing mana potions. You're playing Prot, you're gonna need a lot of mana potions. You're gonna be needing sacrificial runes, dark runes, a lot of stuff. And if you're just doing AoE tanking, immolation oil, or AoE farming, immolation oil always helps. Engineering mining for the force reflective disc, that's to help with AoE tanking. And then bombs are always good. Engineering mining, by the way, is also really good for PvP. A lot of engineering stuff is fantastic in battlegrounds, however, it cannot be used in arenas. Keep that in mind. But if you want to dominate BG, is like engineering's the way. So those are my recommendations. Which one's the best? If I had to choose one set of two, I would probably go with well, it depends what spec you're playing. If you're playing Ret, I would go blacksmithing mining. If you're doing like Ret PvP, but I don't know, I mean, Ret aren't the best in PvP. But I would probably make a paladin to do AoE leveling and then AoE farming. So I would probably go like, I don't know, it's a tough one. Probably, if I could afford it, like enchanting alchemy, make a money making guy, like farm Skolo and disenchant all that stuff, and then have a druid collecting herbs, send them to Paladin gets us alchemy. I don't know. Maybe. But all these are good. All professions are pretty good. I would get cooking as well for the Dragon Breath Chili. It's going to help with your AoE business. Okay, so I think it's about time that I talked about talent progression and changes from vanilla. And so what is the talent progression that you go if you play Retribution, if you play Holy, if you play Protection? So I'm going to get into that right now. All right, so first up, let's talk about the Retribution talent progression. So first up, you're going to want to put 5 points into Benediction. You're going to want to do that over Blessing of Might because you're not even going to be using that. Then you're going to want to put 3 points into Improved Seal of the Crusader. You're going to want to put this on mobs first before you start using other seals. It's going to give you 3% crit, which is great. Improved Judgment will reduce your cooldowns on Judgment, so that's fantastic. Seal of Command is a really big talent here. This is the seal you're going to want to be using. Now at this point, I like to put 2 points into Pursuit of Justice. I think Pursuit of Justice is just a fantastic ability. You're going to be running all over the place for quests, and that movement speed, I feel like, is so undervalued, and it's so powerful. So I put points into Pursuit of Justice, and then put 5 points into Conviction, because you're going to want crit over pretty much anything else. Crit is fantastic. It just, you're going to do so much damage when you crit. Then I'm going to put 2 points into Crusade. This is going to increase all damage caused against humanoids, demons, undead, and elementals by 2%. Keep that in mind when you choose to level. It doesn't increase damage caused against beasts. You know, don't go to STV, right? It's up to you, though. Sanctity Aura is fantastic. It's just 1 talent point, and you're going to get 10% increased holy damage. It's really strong if you think about it. Your seal does holy damage. You do holy damage all the time. It's a fantastic ability there. 10% for 1 point. Over here, you're going to get 2% increased damage, which is really greater than 1 for these other options here. This is only for your two-handed melee weapons, so physical attacks here. I'm going to put 3 points into that. Then you can come back over here, and I would choose Improved Sanctity Aura, because this is only against humanoids, demons, undead, and elementals, but this is against all targets, so you can increase your damage there. Then Vengeance is extremely strong, so 5 points into Vengeance. That's going to give you bonus physical and holy damage after getting a critical strike. At this point, you can unlock Repentance, which is fantastic. It's another form of CC or stun, so that your Seal of Command will get that increased damage. Now at this point, Sanctified Judgment is an extremely powerful ability because it's going to give you less downtime, so really important that you put 3 points into that. Now at this point, you can choose between doing more damage or having more critical strike chance. However, because of Vengeance and you want that synergy, you want it to proc more, I'm going to choose Sanctified Seals. And then from here, Fanaticism. This is increasing your critical strike chance once again by 3% per point. So this is just beats everything out of the park. 5 points into Fanaticism. Then you finally unlock Crusader Strike. You're going to build this into your rotation. You're going to use it pretty much on cooldown as much as you possibly can. And then working your way back up, you're going to want to increase your critical strike chance even more. increase your damage more, increase your damage even more. Now at this point, you have a couple of options. I would personally go over and start getting Divine Strength, since you are now level, what is it? You're now level 59, and you know, you probably have a lot of strength, and this talent now makes sense. Then you go over, and these points are, in my opinion, a bit wasted, but you have to work your way down to get some other stuff. I'd get improved Devotion Aura over Redoubt, because you may throw on Devotion Aura occasionally if you really need to. And then you can get Precision, and that's a nice talent to increase your chance to hit. At this point, I'd get Guardian's Favor, which will reduce your Blessing of Protection and increase the duration of your Blessing of Freedom, which is quite nice. You don't want to be hindered by snares or slows. And then you can get your final point into Blessing of Kings, and you can use that over Wisdom at that point, because having total stats increased by 10% is amazing. And that is your Retribution Paladin progression, talent progression. And this is your final talent spec at level 70, which you can start raiding with. All right, now moving on to the Protection Paladin AoE leveling build. Now, I actually go into this in more detail in my other video, but you know what? Why not do it here as well? So basically, first up, you're going to want to do 5 out of 5 Redoubt. That's fantastic. You're going to want to do Toughness, and then you're going to want to do Precision, Shield Specialization, Improved Righteous Fury. You're going to want to do Anticipation, and 1 point, and then you're going to want to go down to Blessing of Sanctuary. Now, the reason I went this route, I kind of did this kind of fast, but you're not going to be using Devotion Aura for AoE grinding. You're going to be using Retribution Aura, so you're going to want Redoubt. Precision is really important, but even more important is just surviving, so I chose Toughness and then Precision. And then from there, Improved Righteous Fury is really strong, but Shield Specialization is a 30% increase in damage absorbed, so I went that first, and then Improved Righteous Fury after that for his flat 6% damage reduction. And then you need to basically unlock this row of talents here, so I got 1 point into Anticipation, which is a really good talent, honestly. But at this point, you get Blessing of Sanctuary, which really, really helps. And then 4 points into Reckoning. And this, you're level 34 at this point. This is when I recommend you can start. So get these talents. Honestly, the order doesn't really matter that much, because I wouldn't even recommend going Prot until you're level 34. And that's when you can kind of start doing this. It's really fun, though, once you can. And at that point, you know, 1 more into Reckoning, a one-handed weapon specialization not only increases the weapon damage that you deal with the weapon, but all of your damage. So get that into 4 out of 5 until you unlock Holy Shield. Holy crap, this is a good talent. Get that, and then honestly, get Improved Holy Shield. It's really strong. And then go back up and get one-handed weapon specialization. It's extremely strong. At this point, you can, you know, kind of branch off into some other talents, but I really like Ardent Defender. Quite frankly, I feel like you are going to have less than 35% health a lot when you're doing this type of AoE grinding. Like, it's a bit scary, so I really like this talent. I put some points into that, and then Anticipation is really powerful. To be totally honest, though, you could totally not do Ardent Defender, like take some points out of that, put into Anticipation, so that you can be like, well, I don't ever plan on getting my health that low. Let's just put it into Anticipation instead, right? Like, if you wanna really like try hard that. Honestly, both of these are really good. Combat Expertise and Sacred Duty. Looks like you get more stamina from Sacred Duty, so I'd put that into there. Yeah, 2 points into Sacred Duty. Then go Avenger's Shield. It's nice for pulling. So, like, you know, stuff's kind of spread out. You can go do that. At this point, I would go over and do 5 points into Benediction. Parry is nice. I'd go Parry. 5 points into that. Pursuit of Justice. You really can't go wrong with that. What we're trying to get to is Improved Retribution Aura. Improved Judgment could be helpful. And then Retribution Aura. Definitely. And then, honestly, Crusade is extremely strong, because you're probably going to be grinding humanoids, demons, undead, and elementals. So this is probably what I would go with, honestly, as the AoE Protection Paladin leveling progression. And then once you're level 70, you can keep this. Alternatively, you can, go actual Protection Paladin for dungeons, which would be a different setup. So that wouldn't necessarily be a progression, because you would just, unless you're going to level protection that is not optimized for AoE, like you're just going to do dungeons, that would be a different build. For this build, this is, you can do this in dungeons. You can also, but this is more optimized for solo play, solo AoE grinding. And it's been a lot of fun. I actually have been doing this on Atlantis Kerosian private server. So fun. I can't recommend this enough. It's a blast. Check out the other video if you haven't on AoE Protection Paladins. It's really good. All right, up next, we're going to talk about general Paladin tips. Now, I once had this friend, and he wasn't the greatest at World of Warcraft, and he liked to play Paladin without having a seal on. So you can probably tell he wasn't the greatest at World of Warcraft. Some of these tips are going to be more obvious than others, but I feel like they're good tips all around. So first of all, very newbie mistake, obviously have a seal on pretty much 99% of the time. And what's important is that usually when you judge, you're going to lose your seal. So don't auto attack after judging without a seal. If, that makes sense, right? And so how do you do that? Well, judge does not use a global cooldown, so use it and immediately use a seal after. You can create a macro so that when you judge, you immediately put on your seal. That totally works. So you just push that one button, it casts your seal, and it also puts on it judges and then also casts your seal. Or if you're fast, you can just click, right? Seal and then immediately put on or judge and then immediately put on a seal. Wow, I fucked that up like 3 times. Don't auto attack without having a seal on. You can also complement this with a auto attack timer so that you can ensure that you will not swing without a seal. Basically, you do your swing, then you judge, then you seal. Therefore, less chance of auto-attacking without a seal on. Okay, next tip. While leveling, it's really more beneficial to use Blessing of Wisdom over Blessing of Might. Paladins will suffer from downtime if you're not, if you're just kind of going all out. You're going to have to, rest and get your mana back usually. So really, Blessing of Wisdom is much better than Blessing of Might due to Paladin's sort of inherent mana issues. It gets better, though, at around level, I'd say, like 40-something, when you get your talent that gives you back some mana when you judge. Next up is use Seal of the Crusader to level weapon skill faster, since Seal of the Crusader increases your attack speed. That's pretty straightforward. Seal of the Commander's a seal you get pretty early on, and basically that's what it does. Your weapon will deal less damage, but it will swing faster. So nice little tip for you there. Generally speaking, though, it kind of sucks leveling new skill or new weapons as a Paladin. Crusader Strike definitely helps with that, but yeah, generally it kind of sucks. Little tip here, Judgment of Justice on humanoids. It's going to prevent them from fleeing. If you read the tooltip, it does say this, but you can miss it. So, and honestly, you don't always need that to happen unless it's really packed. There's a lot of enemies everywhere, and you just don't want them to flee. Could also be used in dungeons, so that you don't pull a million guys. Like SM is a great example where you might want to actually use Judgment of Justice so they don't run and pull more mobs. Front load your abilities and then white hit the rest to get natural mana regeneration going. This is going to go a long way for you if you do this, so highly recommend front loading for all classes. It's a really effective way to reduce your downtime. Of course, there is the basic tip: kill mobs the same level as you are as often as you can. You're going to get the most amount of XP. The further they are from your level, the lower amount of XP they're going to give you, whether that's higher or lower. And to a degree, if they become gray, you get no XP, of course. Reckoning has changes, so if you want to fully benefit from it, make sure to have a weapon with 2 weapon speed or less. Because of how it works, you get 4 charges that last for 8 seconds, And so in order to get the extra swing on each auto attack, you're going to have a weapon that attacks at least 4 times within 8 seconds, so 2 weapon speed. And again, this will like sometimes happen where they parry or dodge or you miss and you're just going to lose that charge, honestly, which really sucks. But it's unavoidable, so you might see that happen sometimes. And also remember that in the Burning Crusade, you can mount up at level 30, which is awesome. So remember at level 30 to go learn how to summon your warhorse. It's basically like 60 silver or something, so enjoy a free mount basically at level 30. Keep in mind, as a paladin, mounting is a spell, and it will halt your mana regen, and it is also on the global cooldown, unlike using the the item, like an item mount, like other classes. So a bit of a boon, but also a debuff in a way, or a bad thing in a way. Okay, so some general tips on which seals to use. So Seal of the Crusader, definitely you should use this first because you should talent into improve Seal of the Crusader, granting plus 3% critical strike chance. Seal of Command once you get it as a Ret, and then Hand of Justice, and then Judge to maximize damage. Seal of Righteousness is really best for one-handed weapons and tanking, because it's a guaranteed holy damage every single hit. It's going to help you generate that threat. Seal of Vengeance is better, so if you're Alliance, switch over to that once it's available. Seal of Light, in my opinion, is the best for AoE farming to stay alive, or if you need extra health, right? You're losing a lot of health, you're not confident that you're going to survive this. Use Seal of Light and Judgment of Light, right? Then you're going to be getting like tons of procs, especially if you get like Reckoning, then you're just like getting tons of health procs. Seal of Wisdom is best for AoE farming, again, except on the other end of the spectrum if you need mana. Which aura to use? So basically, from the very lowest levels, I would use Devotion until you can get Retribution, until you can get Sanctity. If you're having more than one mob on you at a time, I would go ahead and use Retribution aura. That will probably deal a little bit more damage. Especially if you're AoE farming. As a Prot Paladin, definitely use Retribution aura. Definitely time your abilities with Vengeance stacks. Once you are maxed out on your number of Vengeance stacks, that is your moment to shine. Pop your cooldowns, pop your trinkets, go all out once you're fully stacked on your Vengeance stacks, which increase your damage. So those are general Paladin tips. Things you might miss, some more helpful than others, but hopefully that'll set you off on the right track. Now next I want to talk about Paladin at level 70. And first we're going to go with Prot, then we're going to talk about Holy, and then we're going to talk about Retribution. We're going to talk about the basic numbers, we're going to talk about the talents you should go, and we're going to talk about the best in slot pre-raid, all of that coming up next. So the Prot Paladin level 70, let's talk about the basic numbers here. We've got 485 defense, makes you critical hit immune to almost all mobs level 72 and below, which is actually all 5-man instances and heroics. At 490 defense, you are uncrittable by almost any mob or boss in PvE. You're going to want 102.4% avoidance to get uncrushable by level 73 bosses, and 11,000 plus hit points is desired for tanking in Karazhan. 160 spell damage is the absolute minimum needed for building threat. So those are your basic stats to shoot for as you're gearing up, getting your enchants, your gems for your Protection Paladin. When it comes to builds, just go this one over here. Picture it on the screen. This is basically the cookie cutter spec to go. It's got all the basics. It's got all the good stuff. Again, this is not to be confused with the AoE farming Paladin, which gets a totally different build. Not totally different, just quite different. This build is very standard and optimized for raids. You should have another Paladin in your raid spec for improved Seal of the Crusader and Vindication. All right, now when it comes to spells, you should have Righteous Fury on always. You're going to have that extra 90% threat from your holy damage, and it will also reduce all damage taken by 6% through your talents, of course. Holy Shield as frequently as you can. It's going to give you plus 30% or plus 35% with the Relic. Chance to block. It's going to have 8 charges because you talented into that. And I would recommend having it up always as much as you can. In addition, when you block, it's going to cause holy damage to the target, which will also help you very much with holding aggro and increasing your threat. All right, Consecration, the bread and butter of the Tankadin or the Prot Paladin. This is basically why Paladins are really good at AoE tanking. Consecration. It's makes the ground deal AoE holy damage. So basically it allows you to generate threat on multiple enemies easily in quite a large area around you. Basically, anytime you're tanking multiple mobs, it's great to use. If you're really struggling on generating threat, you can use it on single target as well, but really it's really great for AoE. All right, Avenger's Shield. So this one is a fun one. It hits 3 targets, does holy damage. It's used really for pulling, initiating. I would say be careful when using this because you don't get to choose the 3 targets it hits. It's like you're going to throw it at these adds that are to the left of the boss. It's like add, it's going to fly across the room and hit the boss, and you're like, "Fall!" So be careful with it. Just kind of get familiar with how it works so you don't unintentionally pull more than you wanted because it bounces and you don't choose those bounce targets. Seal of Righteousness, the tanking shield. We kind of talked about this. Deals bonus damage on every hit. Judging this will cause holy damage to the target. Seal of Vengeance, Alliance Paladins. You are lucky for this. You stack the dot on the target. Stacks up to 5 times. Really going to help you generate threat. Seal of the Crusader. So the seal is actually only good for leveling up weapons, basically, but judging it is where the value really comes in. It takes extra holy damage, which that means extra threat. I would say have your Ret Paladin judge it. Probably the best. When it comes to Exorcism, this is a great ability for Prot Paladins, for every Paladin really, but deals holy damage to an enemy demon or undead. Good to mention this because basically Karazhan, like most mobs and bosses on Karazhan, are undead, so makes Prot Paladin fantastic for Karazhan for that reason. And then the argument, Blessing of Kings versus Blessing of Sanctuary. So as a rule of thumb, Kings is technically better than Sanctuary in the vast majority of cases. On single target tanking, I would say Kings is always better. On AoE tanking, Kings should be better in raids, since 80 damage reduction is really not that much compared to the mobs damage that they're probably doing in a raid. However, in some fights where there are many mobs attacking for low damage, so like the Illhoof fight, Sanctuary would probably be better. So in most cases, you should have another Paladin buff you with Kings, and then you buff yourself with Sanctuary. So in most cases, you should probably just have both anyways. So your basic rotation for holding aggro, right? Seal of Crusader / Seal of Wisdom will depend on what you need more. Do you need more threat? Do you need more mana? Probably going to need more mana, but you never know. You're going to want to pull with Avenger's Shield, and then Judgment while the mob is approaching you. Holy Shield when the mob is about to hit you. Then use Seal of Righteousness or Seal of Vengeance for your main seal. At this point, just keep judging, resealing, Seal of Righteousness or Seal of Vengeance while keeping Holy Shield up. Use Consecrate if there's more than one mob, or single target if you're struggling with threat. That's basically how you do it. So basic rotation with more than one mob would basically be very similar. Pop your Seal of Righteousness / Vengeance, pull with Avenger's Shield, pop Holy Shield, pop Consecration, refresh Holy Shield, and Consecrate basically as often as you can. You're going to find yourself running low on mana probably really fast. So what I have noticed has been very useful for me personally is to downrank your Consecration, and that's going to really help with your mana issues, but you still get that nice threat generation. Okay, let's talk about some buffs. Who doesn't love buffs? Besides world buffs, no one likes those. So, Spicy Crawdad or Fisherman Feasts for food, can't go wrong with those. Those are going to give you stamina, which is great. Weapon enchant, I'd actually go Superior Wizard Oil. This is going to give you plus 40 spell damage for an hour, and since you generate threat using spell power, this is going to increase your threat per second. I would say, quite frankly, this is the best option for you. Get the Superior Wizard Oil. Flask. Oh, and by the way, I'm pretty sure the Superior Wizard Oil is that made through... I don't know who makes that. Sorry. I was going to say, I think that's enchanting, but I don't know if that's true or not. That might be alchemy. Anyways, Flask of Fortification, plus 500 health points, 10 defense rating, lasts 2 hours, persists through death. This is the ideal choice and the classic choice for tanks. When it comes to scrolls, you can actually have any number of different scrolls on you. You can just stack any of the following. Scroll of Agility helps with armor, Scroll of Stamina, Scroll of Intellect, and Scroll of Protection if you want to go for those scrolls. When it comes to potions, just lots of super mana potions. You're really going to be using a ton of those because you're a Prot Paladin, and mana is still an issue, even with some nice passives that were introduced. When it comes to pre-Raid BiS, this is the juicy stuff. This is the fun stuff. So number one choice, we're going to work from helmet down to trinkets, left to right, top to bottom. Face Guard of Determination, can't go wrong with that. Get the enchant Glyph of the Defender. For the neck piece, Strength of the Untamed. Shoulder, Spalders of... Did I just say Spalders? I meant Spalders of Dementia. For your cloak, get Slick's Cloak of Placation. Enchant that with 12 dodge. For your chest Guard of the Stoic Guardian. Exceptional health, plus 150 health. For your wrists, get Bracers of the Green Fortress. So this is where blacksmithing comes in handy. I think it's a BOE blacksmithing, though, so you don't need to be a blacksmith, I'm pretty sure. Enchant Major Defense, that's going to give you plus 12 defense rating. For your hands, Felsteel Gloves, another blacksmithing item. Enchant that with Major Spell Power. Remember, that's your threat generation. For your waist, get Girdle of Valorous Deeds. Legs, Time Warden's Leggings. Boots of the Righteous Path for your feet, and then enchant those with Fortitude plus 12 stamina. For your rings, Elementium Band of the Sentry and Doth Remar's Ring of Defense. For trinkets, get the Gnomragon Auto Blocker 600 and the Figurine of the Colossus. By the way, it's also great for AoE Prot Paladin farming. For your weapon, most people recommend having two types of weapons, actually. One for avoidance, which is like your typical tanking stat weapon, and another one for threat, which is going to actually be a caster DPS weapon. So for typical tanking, I would recommend the Sun Eater. It's fantastic. And then when it comes to your spell damage threat generation blade, Continuum Blade. And then get enchant Major Spell Power plus 40. Moving on to your shield, you can't go wrong with the Crest of the Shatar. It's really got all the stats you're looking for. And Librum of Repentance. It is highly recommended that this is actually the first item you should buy with your badges. And a lot of these items I actually listed probably all require badges. Not all of them, but there's probably a few. So it's recommended that with your first allotment of badges, you spend them on Librum of Repentance. For gems, can't go wrong with Solid Star Valoon plus 12 stamina. Once you get Uncrittable and Uncrushable, stamina will become the stat that you just try to stack as much as you can. When it comes to your meta gem, can't go wrong with the powerful Earthstorm Diamond. It's going to give you plus 18 stamina and 5% stun resist. And that pretty much wraps up playing Prot Paladin at level 70. We kind of went through everything. So with Prot Paladin out of the way, we can go ahead and move on to Ret Paladin at level 70. And we're going to do pretty much exactly the same thing for the Ret Paladin starting now. All right, Ret Paladin at 70. Congrats on getting 70, by the way. All right, so talents. Let's talk about some of the talent choices that we make as a Ret Paladin level 70 and why we make them. So 2 points in Pursuit of Justice lets you use a pure stat enchant, such as Enchant Boots Dexterity on your boots instead of Enchant Boots Cat's Swiftness. So you get pure stats instead of some stats, and like a plus 8 agility and movement speed increase. So that's nice. You get to go pure stats there. Improved Judgment is actually only required 1 out of 2. It is advisable, though, for new players to spend 2 points to make the rotation easier. Improved Blessing of Might is often taken by Holy Paladins, but it may be a viable option for smaller dungeon parties when you're the only Paladin. While Blessing of Kings isn't a necessity from your side, it is a very welcomed buff in any group. So thinking about different group sizes, dungeons versus raids, with Blessing of Kings you can benefit everyone in your party. Now, while Blessing of Might requires up to 5 talent points, it's not useful for spellcasters. So that's one reason why if you go for kings, you're going to be more valuable to your dungeon group more than if you went for 5 points into Blessing of Might. So let's talk about gems a little bit. When you're a Ret Paladin, you're probably going to want to go for the Relentless Earthstorm Diamond. For your red gems, you're going to want either the Bold Crimson Spinel or Spinal. Who knows how to pronounce that, honestly? Like, when does that ever appear in life? With a cheaper alternative, you could go with Bold Living Ruby. Yellow, these are used if the socket bonus is worth it, or if you require hit rating from your gear. Used Etched Fire Opal to increase your hit rating. Use Inscribed Pyrestone, Inscribed Fire Opal, or Inscribed Noble Topaz if you wish to complete the socket bonus. Otherwise, just fill the yellow sockets with red gems like Strength. For blue, we honestly only need these two to activate the meta gem typically. Use Sovereign Shadow Song Amethyst or Sovereign Night's Eye on the best blue sockets you have. Fill the other ones with red gems. So let's talk about enchants. What are the Ret Paladin enchants you're going to want to go for your head? Glyph of Ferocity. For your shoulder, Greater Inscription of the Blade or Greater Inscription of Vengeance. For your cloak, can't go wrong with Greater Agility. Your chest, you're going to want Enchant Chest Exceptional Stats. Bracers, get Enchant Bracer Brawn. Gloves, you're going to want Major Strength. You can see there's clearly a trend here. You're basically stacking a ton of strength as Ret Paladin. For your legs, you can't go wrong with the Nether Cobra leg armor. Very pricey, will probably cost hundreds of gold. Or if you make it yourself, it'll probably just cost a good amount of time, and you also need that Primal Nether. What you get from doing a heroic dungeon, last boss always drops one. Good luck winning the roll. All right, boots. Like we said, you can get Enchant Boots Dexterity if you spec'd into Pursuit of Justice. Otherwise, if you didn't, go with Enchant Boots Cat's Swiftness. For your weapon, go Mongoose or Executioner. Those are really the ways to go. Mongoose is probably better than Executioner. And if you're an enchanter, you can benefit from the Enchant Ring stats. Or is probably what everyone's going to do. You're going to go enchanting, enchant your rings with stats, and then drop it, and then go pick up like leatherworking or something. I don't know. Speaking of leatherworking, leatherworking is really the true choice for raiders because of Drums of Battle. This is kind of, I feel like everyone knows this by now, but just in case, the one guy out there who doesn't. If you take into account the combined stat boost for the party for Drums of Battle, you can see why it's just easily so good. And honestly, if you're leatherworking, you can get that Nether Cobra leg armor that you can create yourself. Another profession that's good for Ret Paladins is jewel crafting. It allows you to craft 2 items from the BiS list. Hard Corium Choker, Hard Corium Band. You can also create epic gems, but they can be bought, so it's not much of an exclusive thing, but only jewel crafters can put them into their gear, so that's the exclusive part. Enchanting. Beneficial, we already talked about this for the stats. Upgrade after enchanting your BiS rings. Go ahead and drop it. I know you're going to do that. I'm just kidding. I actually don't think people are going to do that because I wouldn't do it. 300 enchanting. Do you know how hard enchanting is to level in TBC? Don't even get me started on that, man. It's not easy to level in TBC. If you go alchemy, you can create the Assassin's Alchemist Stone, but it'll be replaced with a better trinket eventually. However, dude, you're like a money maker if you go alchemy, and you can also make your own flask that you're going to be using, like Flask of Relentless Assault, Elixir of Demon Slaying, or Haste Potions. Blacksmithing if you're Ret, no brainer here. We kind of talked about this a little bit, but if you're Ret specifically, you could make your, if you're going PvP, you make Stun Herald, Storm Herald, whatever you want to call it. It's really good. Blacksmithing, yeah, has some good gear, has some good stuff. You can also create like adamantite weight stones, adamantite sharpening stones, sell them, use them, whatever you want to do. Engineering is pretty good too. It has a lot of fun, in it. I made a video about how awesome it is, how fun it is. Some great utility actually with the repair bots, with the jumper cables, money making opportunities with the mode extractor. what is that thing actually called? The actual name of the mode extractor. Zap Throttle Mode Extractor. Boom. Got it. So let's talk about Ret Paladins and what race they should play. The elephant in the room. So if you're Alliance, you know, you're kind of out of luck. I don't know how to say this. So Blood Elves are the only Paladin race that get Seal of Blood. Seal of Blood has an edge in DPS over Seal of Command, which would otherwise be the seal you'd be using unless you were a Blood Elf. And there's a lot of reasons why Seal of Blood is better. You take some damage. It allows you to get more mana back when you get healed as a Ret Paladin. I think people have quoted like 10 to 13% more DPS over Alliance, and that is a significant number, my friend. So I would say if you're playing Alliance, the differences are minuscule. However, note that the base stats of a dwarf are typically higher than the other races. Stats that matter, such as strength, stamina, and those are really the two. But yeah, there you go. Typically, I'd probably, if it were up to me and I wanted to min-max literally as hard as I possibly could if I was Alliance. Actually, I wouldn't even roll Alliance if I wanted to play Ret Paladin if I was min-maxing as hard as I possibly could. But I'd probably go a dwarf and then otherwise a Blood Elf. Those are my race picks, respectively, for both factions. Stat priority, and this is all with a Ret Paladin filter on. Hit requirement, 9%. Keep in mind that you're going to receive that 3% from the precision talent if you went off the talent tree I recommend, and your weapon should be around 3.5 or higher due to damage procs being based on weapon damage. So you want a slow weapon that's got high weapon damage. You know what I'm saying? For Alliance, because of the Seal of Command proc, you're going to want to go Strength, then Armor Penetration, and then Haste. And then for Horde, due to Seal of Blood mechanics, you're going to want to go Strength, then Haste, then Armor Penetration. So overall, Seal of Blood is going to benefit more from Haste than Seal of Command does. Keep in mind that you won't be able to use Seal of Blood on every boss because sometimes it will end with you dying. Seal of Command is a safe and stable choice even for Blood Elf Paladins. Honestly, you can never go wrong with using it, though. In some cases, you'll have to. All right, so when it comes to your rotation, what does it look like? What spells are you casting? You're going to want 100% uptime or 99.99999% uptime of Seal of Blood / Seal of Vengeance, because you have to judge it, right? So there's that 0.00. I'm just kidding. I'm not going to do that. Use Seal of... use it on cooldown, your Crusader Strike and Judgment. Basically using both those on cooldown. I actually complain a lot about how Ret Paladins have like 3 abilities. Use your 3 abilities on cooldown. If you have excess mana and space in your rotation, you could throw in a Consecration, but the efficiency, the mana per damage ratio is probably sub 1. So I'm just kidding. I'm just throwing crap out there. This is hilarious. I don't know. I wouldn't really use Consecration unless there's a lot of mobs around. I would use Sanctity Aura, of course. It's really strong. Sanctity Aura is underrated. While you're fighting, depending on what's going on, you may be asked to change to Devotion Aura or some other resistance aura, depending on the situation. Man, that cracks me up, man. Do you think there's someone out there who's like, the mana DPS ratio of Consecration, the threshold has passed sub 0.0062514, lower than acceptable thresholds, cut it from the rotation. It's freaking hilarious, man. All right, so let's talk pre-raid best in slot for Retribution Paladins. Starting with the helm, going down to the trinkets, top to bottom, left to right. So for the helm, the Furious and Gizmatic Goggles. It's an engineering BOP. So if you're an engineer, it's going to be your pre-Raid BiS to get those goggles. However, if you're not an engineer, I'm looking out for you. Go for the Helm of the Claw. You can get that from the Warlord's Hideout, which is a Steam Vault quest. So keep that in mind. If you're going to do that quest and you're holy or something, you might want to pick that up just because it's the other option for pre-raid Retribution best in slot. When it comes to your neck slot, Choker of Vile Intent, 25 badges of justice to get that. Shoulder, Rage Steel Shoulders. It's a blacksmithing BOE. For your back, Vengeance Wrap. It's a tailoring BOE. For your chest, Blackened Chest Plate from Showdown. The what does BEM stand for? BEM quest. Blades Edge Mountains. It's a Blades Edge Mountains quest. I wrote that acronym. I'm like, what am I talking about? Bracer. You get your bracer from Blacksmithing BOE. It's black fell steel bracers. For your hands, Doomplate Gauntlets from Heroic Blood Furnace from Caladan the Breaker. Freaking love Heroic Blood Furnace. Belt, Girdle of the Death Dealer from Heroic Black Morass. Aeonis. Legs from Leatherworking BOE. It's called Fell Leather Leggings. Boots, Fell Leather Boots. Another Leatherworking BOE ring. Go with Shafar's Band of Brutality from Heroic Manitombs off Yor, the summoned boss. The other ring is Kalan's Signet from the quest Death Blow to the Legion, which is a Netherstorm quest for the Alder only. So if you're confused between Scry or Alder, there you go. Aldor for the Ret Paladin. Trinkets, Bloodlust Brooch, 41 Badges of Justice. Hourglass of the Unraveler, that's from Black Morass Temporous. When it comes to your Librum or Librum of Avengement, that's from Heroic Blood Furnace from The Maker. And then for your two-handed weapon, number one choice, IMO, in my opinion, Deep Thunder / Storm Herald. It's a bind on pickup blacksmithing, so you're going to have to be a blacksmith, and you're going to have to be a master hammersmith in order to create this. It's hard to make. It takes a lot of mats, takes a lot of time. Like literally, like when you start crafting it takes like 5 minutes, so you got to go take like a bio break. But it's so epic that I always just stare at that little bar filling up, getting ready to freaking pop the champagne. Yeah, dude, it's a big deal, crafting your Storm Herald. Alternatively, if you're not a blacksmith, Quantum Blade from Heroic Black Morass, Aeonis. Yeah. So, yeah, that's your pre-raid best in slot for the Retribution Paladin. And that's all of the tips I have for them. That wraps up Retribution Paladin. And after Retribution, we have our final spec, Holy Paladin at level 70. We're going to talk about the talents, the rotation, the spells, the abilities, the potions, the scrolls, the consumables, everything right now. So, Holy Paladin. Check out this build right here. This basically offers all of the necessary healing talents while also giving utility for the raid. I would say there is not too much wiggle room for this because this is sort of the cookie cutter. This is kind of the perfect build. However, if Improved Blessing of Might is not required, for example, another Paladin has it in your raid, you can take these points and put them in other talents, but honestly, it's like, what's the point? Like, where would you put them? I guess you could put them in Toughness. It's slightly helpful. Unyielding Faith, Pure of Heart, or Purifying Power. The benefit of these is arguable at best. Covered in sugar. No, I'm just kidding. All right, gems. Let's talk gems. We've got the Insightful Earthstorm Diamond for your meta. For your red gems, you're going to want to use the Teardrop Crimson Spinel or the Teardrop Living Ruby. For yellow, can't go wrong with the Luminous Pyrestone, Luminous Noble Topaz, or Dazzling Sea Spray Emerald. Go with the Dazzling Talosite as well. So you've got a few options there. For your blue gem, Royal Shadow Song Amethyst or Royal Night's Eye. So those are basically the ones you're going to want to go after. When it comes to your enchants, can't go wrong with the Glyph of Renewal for your head. For your shoulder, Greater Inscription of Faith or Greater Inscription of the Oracle. For your cloak, enchant Cloak, Major Armor, or a Resistance enchant. Depending on the fight, you might need like Fire, Shadow, Nature, whatever. Chest enchant, Restore Mana Prime. Bracers, we want Superior Healing or Restore Mana Prime. And then Major Healing on the gloves. Moving on to the legs, Golden Spell Thread. Boots, you can either get Boar's Speed or Vitality. When it comes to your weapon, you can get major healing for sure, shield, intellect, or major stamina. I'd probably go with intellect. Intellect is a boss stat for Holy Paladins, so I'd probably choose intellect. And again, enchanters have a super duper secret, amazing hidden power known as ring enchants, and the ring enchant for the Holy Paladin is healing power. Ooh, healing power. It's sick, dude. So put healing power on both of your rings. Professions. So we talked about professions in general, about the other, specs, but for Holy Paladins, which professions should you go? Alchemy is a really good choice because there's a lot of different potions you can make. However, one in particular, which is best in slot for your freaking Paladin, Holy Paladin, is the Redeemer's Alchemist Stone. This is really like the BiS trinket for healers. It's so good. Enchanting, another good option. Going to save you money on armor, enchants, and you get the enchant ring healing power. So those two, honestly, I highly recommend. However, you can also go engineering. You can craft the Justice Bringer 2000 specs, which is actually on the BiS list as well for Holy Paladin, and it's also just the most fun ever to be an engineer. Jewel crafting is fantastic. It's probably going to be super profitable as well. You're going to have a nice starting trinket, figurine, Talisite Owl. Later on, superior gems like Kaylee's Rose can be crafted to receive extra stats as well. All right, let's talk a little bit about gameplay. What spells are we going to use? What's the rotation? How do we play a Holy Paladin? So, basically, in TBC, your aura is going to be applied to your group, not the whole raid. Devotion aura and different resistance auras are used in tank groups, while concentration aura can be very helpful for a caster group. Sometimes you may be asked to use judgments in a fight as a Holy Paladin, and while being the only Paladin, it's a good choice to use Judgment of Wisdom. Judgment of Light is another choice if Wisdom is covered by another Paladin. So Wisdom gives you mana, Light gives you health. Divine Intervention, only push this red button if all of your other options are spent. Promise me this. Promise me this. I'm just kidding. Divine Intervention kills you. It's a spell you cast that ends your life. However, it will save someone else's. It's basically jokes aside, it's an anti-wipe utility. Basically, have someone run away from the boss's aggro range and then cast it on them. Because if you cast it on someone who's within the boss's aggro range, the second they take off Divine Intervention, the boss can be like, ha 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 ha, now's my time, and he's going to go scurry over and one-shot him. So, Divine Intervention's awesome. Paladins are expected to buff, of course, the group and raid with blessings. Blessings are valuable buffs, and each class is requires a different blessing, depending on, don't give wisdom to warriors. Blessing of Wisdom does not help the warrior. Instead, use kings. So I'm actually going to talk about which buffs you should put on which classes. I think that would be helpful. So, let's say we got a warrior here, and we learned here we're not supposed to put Blessing of Wisdom on them. So Toyhouze, what blessing should we put on the warrior? Well, if they're Prot, my young Padawan, you should put kings on them. And then if they have kings already, you should put Blessing of Light. And if they have both of those already, then you should put Blessing of Might. And if they have all three on them, they're all set. They're ready to go in the easy bake oven. All right, next we should talk about druids, because what class is going to be played more than druids? Probably none. Let's say they're feral, though. Yeah, let's do a hard one. If they're a feral druid, kings. If they already got kings, put might. If they already have those two, who cares? That's it. For paladin, protection paladin, give them kings first, and then give them sanctuary next, and then light last. Honestly, they should give themselves sanctuary. So I would just give them kings, and then light. They should really seriously have Sanctuary. Let's talk about healers. What healers should get? So if a Resto Druid is in your group, give them Wisdom or Kings. Honestly, both are probably super beneficial for them. Shaman, Wisdom Kings. Paladin, Wisdom Kings. I don't know. This is kind of obvious, but hey, you know what? There's some people out there who don't know. Holy Priest, Wisdom, or Kings. All right, moving on to DPS. So DPS classes. What buffs should we give the DPS classes? Well, for a warrior whose arms are fury, we should give them might first. Whoa. Really? Over Kings? Yes. Attack power, IMO, is going to be more helpful than just Kings for a warrior that's arms are fury. Rogues, might, Kings. Might first, then Kings. Druid, who's a moonkin, go Wisdom and then Kings. For Feral Druid, we actually already talked about that. Shaman, Elemental, Wisdom, then Kings. Shaman Enhancement, Might, and then Kings. Mages, Kings or Wisdom. Warlocks, get this, guys. Guess what we should give Warlocks. You're never going to guess this. Salvation. Yep, they're that broken. Give them Salvation first. If they already have Salvation, give them Kings, and then Wisdom last. The reason being they have life tap. So Kings is honestly better than Wisdom for them because they can just tap. Hunters, give them Might and then Kings. However, if they're Survival, then Kings and then Might. If they're Ret Pally, give them Might and then Kings. And if they're a Shadow Priest, give them Wisdom first and then Kings. So those are basically the buff priorities. Honestly, I imagine that you're probably going to have full buff coverage in your raid. I don't suspect that, you won't have every buff, but maybe you won't. And that's the priority I would recommend. Yeah, there you go, man. There you go. When it comes to your rotation, let's talk about the rotation. Flash of Light. Dude, really quick, man. Has anyone heard of Nostromo? Just really quick, Nostromo. You just hold down this button and it just spams whatever button you're pushing. It's so perfect for paladins because Flash of Light is pretty much the only thing you're gonna be casting. Like when I raided in Wrath of the Lich King as a holy paladin, I buffed everyone up. And then I just held down that Nostromo button, just Flash of Light, Flash of Light, Flash of Light, Flash of Light, like just nonstop. I put Beacon of Light on the off tank, and the main tank, it's Flash of Lights all day. Anyways, this is a great story to explain how you're going to heal as a paladin. So, Flash of Light. You're going to be using that, and it can be downranked to rank 6 to save mana. If you want to use Holy Light, it requires more time to cast, and it's going to heal significantly more. So keep that in mind. Light's Grace talent allows you to reduce your casting time by 0.5 seconds. Ideally, you should maintain this effect most of the time by casting Holy Light rank 4 or 5. This is done so that you can use a rank 11 faster in a critical situation. Holy Shock is reserved for emergencies only. This is the green button, or the yellow button. The red button's Divine Intervention, and the yellow button is Holy Shock. Use it for emergencies. It's going to be okay. Yeah, so keep that in mind about Light's Grace. Actually, guess I was misplaying back in the day. Yeah, Light's Grace. What's next? So that's basically it. I mean, you use Flash of Light, Holy Light, and Holy Shock. Divine Illumination's your new talent. It's going to reduce, like, in a pressure situation where you need to spend a lot of mana. You have the clairvoyance to know that you're about to spend a ton of mana, aka like Holy Shock and stuff. Use Divine Illumination to save yourself some mana. Boom. All right, let's talk about flasks. Flask of Mighty Restoration, or the Flask of Distilled Wisdom for your elixirs. Elixir of Healing Power combined with Elixir of Dranic Wisdom. Potions, can't go wrong with Super Mana or Mad Alchemist's Potion. Health Stones, you're going to have a Warlock in your group probably. They're going to be everywhere. Food, golden fish sticks. Oh, now I'm hungry, dude. It sounds delicious. Oil, superior wizard oil, superior mana oil, your choice. Drums, leatherworking drums of restoration. Bet you didn't see that one coming. All right, stat priority. So you're probably going to want spell, healing, power. Then you're going to want MP5 and spell crit. Spell crit's huge, by the way, for a paladin, I'm sure, as you all know. And then intellect, and then spell haste. So yeah, intellect is really good. It's a good stat, but spell healing, MP5, spell crit, intellect, spell haste. That's what I would prioritize. When it comes to pre-raid best in slot for Holy, this is the good stuff. We're going to start with the helm, then we're going to work our way down to the trinkets, going top to bottom, left to right on the character screen. So for your helm, White Mend Hood. That's right, the White Mend Hood, and that's actually a tailoring BOE. You can purchase that, have someone craft it for you. For your neck, we got Gezarek's Fang from Gezeric the Huntress. That's a tarot card forest thing. Necklace of Eternal Hope is an alternative. You can get that for 25 badges of justice. For your shoulder, Primal Mooncloth Shoulder. This is a tailoring bind-on pickup, and it requires you specialize into Mooncloth tailoring. If you see my Professions video, you will know that basically this is amazing for everyone. It's like the freaking best in slot healer gear for everyone, even like druids and any people who don't even wear cloth typically. Alternatively, you can get Justice Bearer's Pauldrons, which drop off Omor, the Unscarred from Heroic Ramparts. For your back, Life-Giving Cloak. That's a BOE world drop, so good luck getting that. Alternatively, you can go for Bishop's Cloak, 25 badges of justice. For your chest, Primal Mooncloth Robe. Or, again, if you're not tailoring, go Hollowed Garments from Shadow Labs off of Murmur. All right. Bracer. We've got the Blessed Bracers from Blacksmithing, and that's a BOE. A lot of B's in that sentence. Bracer, Blessed Bracers, Blacksmithing, BOE. For your hands, go with the Prismatic Mittens of Mending. That's from Botanica off Commander Saranus. For your belts, Primal Mooncloth Belt. Or alternatively, Stillwater Girdle. That's from Heroic Manitombs off of Nexus Prince Shafar. For your legs, you got White Men Pants. That's a tailoring BOE, so you can just buy that or have someone craft it for you, give it to you. Boots of the Watchful Heart. That's a heroic, and that drops off Captain Scarlock. Wave Fury Boots is an alternative, and that drops off of Rockmar the Crackler off frickin' heroic. I don't know what dungeon he's from, but I know what it looks like and I know who he is. Dang it, it's in the lake in Zangar. I don't know the name of it. Dang it. Rings. Band of Halos. It's going to require 25 badges of justice. Alternatively, the other ring is Ancestral Band from Thrallmar. You have to be revered with Thrallmar to buy that. For your trinkets, you got two options. IMO. Essence of the Martyr, 41 badges of justice, or Scarab of the Infinite Circle. And that's in, I don't even know. Aeonis, Black Morris. There you go. For your Librum, you got the Blessed Book of Nagrand from the Ultimate Bloodsport, which is a Nagrand quest. And then for your main hand, you can go Hand of Eternity. It's a BOE blacksmithing item. Or alternatively, you can go for the Ancient Scepter of Sumin, BOE world drop, so GL with that. Alternatively, you can get the Gavel of Pure Light if you are exalted with the Shatar. For your offhand / shield, you can go with the Swamplight Lantern off of Quagmirian. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Those are your pre-raid best in slots for your Holy Paladin. And now we're going to move on past the three kind of deep dives into what different specs do at level 70. And we're going to talk about all paladins and what add-ons they should have. This is going to include while you're leveling. This is going to include while you're max level. It's going to be super helpful for you, hopefully. And by the way, these add-ons might not be what they're actually called in TBC Classic, but basically the function that they serve is what you should go for, if that makes sense. So a swing timer of some sorts, you're going to want to know, when you're going to auto attack next. It's really important for leveling as a paladin, less important once you're a holy paladin, but still it's an important thing to have. Some type of pally power. I don't know what it's going to be called in the future. Maybe not pally power, but you need to be able to coordinate buffs with other paladins. That way you're not going to have to keep track of, oh God, does this guy have kings or wisdom or whatever? You're going to need some type of add-on to coordinate buffs with other paladins. You're going to want the threat meter, whatever threat meter you want to use. You're going to want some type of add-on to watch your drum rotation. It's going to let people know when it's their turn to pop drums, when your drums are on cooldown, when they're ready. You're going to want some type of drums add-on. You're going to want buff and debuff trackers, track your buff procs. So, you know, when you get a little bonus to spell power, when you get a bonus to attack power, whatever, you're going to want to just keep track of when stuff's happening. So like power auras, right? You're going to get a little icon on your screen when you have, you know, a certain buff. It's, you know, there's a lot of procs in TBC, you know, so it's really good to know when stuff procced. DBM, I'm sure it's going to still be called DBM in TBC, so make sure to have that. Recount, if you want to track your performance in terms of healing, DPS, whatever, Recount's fantastic, highly recommend. Bartender or other alternative, basically just keep an eye on your bars. Keep an eye. There's also a really good bag add-on, Bagnon is fantastic, highly recommend. Unit frames, it's up to you. You can basically modify your UI to fit your preferences. And yeah, that's pretty much it. And then some type of cast bar, I think, like to see cast bars. That will probably be in the game. You might not need that one. But I'm pretty sure in Classic I needed that. I do have an add-on to see like enemy mobs cast bars. Yeah, that's pretty much it, guys. That's the whole freaking guide. We talked about tons of stuff today. So if you learned anything from this guide, absolutely anything, I'd appreciate it if you give it a like. If you like this type of content, let me know by subscribing. If you have any comments on the content we discussed today, love to hear what you have to say. And of course, guys, as always, have a good one. Take care, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.